Right?
I'm gonna call this meeting to order, the special Platinum Roads panel meeting on June 1st of 2023. We're gonna convert this meeting into a workshop because we've had one panel member resign as of today, and another panel member is absent. He's out of town. So we don't have 4 members to vote. So we're not gonna vote today. We're just going to discuss. You wanna do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Chairperson Cody Abney,
Here.
Vice Chair Ed Fleming,
Here.
panelist Jill Bloom, quit, and panelist Jack Bowes is out of town. Panelist Roger Holt.
Here.
Thank you.
Now that we've established that, we'll go into the public comment section. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to reports from officers and council liaison. First is a report by Platinum Roads panel liaison, Linnea Bailey. Linnea, do you have anything for us today?
We're just waiting for you guys. So,
We're excited too. We're trying to rapidly move towards that. If you don't have anything else, we'll take a report from the city manager. Do you have anything, city manager rule? Let's move on to new business. We are able to discuss action on the 2023 Wood Creek Roads Project RFP. And since we have a representative from K3s here today, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Jeremiah Davis. I'm a senior project engineer with K3 Associates. And I also happen to be an engineer of record for the Wood Creek project.
Great, thank you for coming today, Jeremiah. I'll start out by saying that I think I speak for everyone when I say this is a very well put together RFP. It's comprehensive. I think it's a good document.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I do.
Ed and Rogers. Linnea, you think so too? I think it's pretty comprehensive.
I think it's, very comprehensive.
It is. I guess we could go ahead and we could ask some of the questions we have, and I'll start that, and I'm gonna also have to give everyone else on the panel an opportunity to speak as long as they'd like, and ask any questions they'd like. I only had two real reservations about the RFP. My first one, first question is, Jeremiah, the drawings are great. Would you characterize the drawings included in this package as 100% construction documents? Because they look like 100% construction documents to me.
And when we are currently, what we delivered was pre-final, which is 90%.
90%?
So what we turn in after this hearing, after what we're doing here, we have some additional details that we're going to add with it. We're also going to incorporate. We wanted to see if there's any comments that we can incorporate from here. So there's that 100% submittal. That would be the final submittal, and that would be prepared for construction.
That's great. And just in my experience, the other panel members, they look like 100% CDs to me. I am accustomed to bidding 40% CDs for substantially higher contract values, and these are fairly complete drawings. These are more than enough to solicit bids with, in my opinion. That's also your experience, Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
I think they're very well done. On to my second question, so that I don't monopolize the floor too much. On page 1 of 12, Article 1, defined terms. 1.01E, testing. Testing control of all materials used in the work shall be done by an approved commercial laboratory, employed and paid directly by the owner. That's my question. Just help me understand. Material testing is to be paid by the owner. Why would we not shift that cost onto the subcontractor? I mean, I'm just not trying to understand. I don't entirely understand when we would test unless there was a controversy over the quality of the materials being used. And if there was a question of that, I guess if we were the ones raising the question, it would make sense for us to pay for the laboratory testing. But I don't see elsewhere where laboratory testing in the course of normal construction is borne by the subcontractor. Like, if they bring out, like, when we did Wood Creek Drive, when Alpha Paving did that, they had MLPA out here scanning the subsurface throughout the whole portion of that work. And I don't know if the city paid for that or if Alpha put in the bill for that as part of their price. I'm just curious, is that in situ testing while they're actually milling and fixing the you know, the problems in the subsurface and the asphalt trucks are already here lined up down the street, ready to lay hot mix. Do they pay for MLPA or, whatever testing agent, lab they use? Are they paying for that or is the city paying for that?
So I think that the city does pay for that. I know that the bid items that we're using rely on tech stock, so on those bid items. And those bid items are very descriptive on what's involved for each one in order to bid the services and material or anything else like that. I think that as a general default, we go into tech stock because that's most widely known, it's common practice. There's not a lot of confusion with contractors because they're used to seeing this. This also might be what they're used to doing as well. The contractor might say, I'm not really used to paying for that. That's something that I typically pay, you know, have the city's paid for. But I do think that that's something that we can go further into and see if that's something that there's an alternative there. But I think with this case, we're just doing, what's typical, what's
Okay.
the status quo.
And then that's not, is that the industry standard?
Yeah, and
So if the city, so ultimately the city's paying for everything that happens out there. You know, subcontractors,
Yes.
mine, they're not putting the bill for anything. They're getting paid by the city. I'm just curious if they need geotechnical services, which they are going to have, like MLPA or whomever. If the city's paying for it, who's managing on the field? Subcontractor?
no, I think that some of the services might be provided by Capers Associates, providing their own inspectors to make sure that there's adherence to the language sheets, that they can go out there and make sure any of the specifications for material used. So I can actually speak from some of my own experience as a field engineer. First one, I did do special inspections. I did do a lot of testing. What I can say though is that there's some conflict of interest. I think subcontractors to pay for it themselves. It's real big.
I understand.
You're allowing them to regulate themselves on the quality that's necessary, right? So for concrete, right, it doesn't be a style of 3,000, and you want to make sure that that stays throughout, right? And I can tell you what a concrete person can do is they can add too much water. And why would somebody want to do that and trying to make the concrete workable? So the more permanent it's just a lot. So they actually teach you when you field test the concrete, you know, to actually grab your sample. Grab it at the beginning, or some like throw the water in there.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep, and you grab it at the truck, or you got at the point of placement.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, there's a few different things there that can happen that can kind of undermine the inspection itself, as well as just like I said, the conflict of interest in it. I was in the private sector. I remember just remember that owner as well.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that may help me understand it better. You do want a third party testing.
Yeah, and
controlled by the owner.
you know, and when you're calling back concrete trucks as an inspector, people get really upset real quick.
They do.
And then they really start scrutinizing the inspector hell. And I remember one time that happened for me, and the concrete company actually called out their inspector. And I had to do slump tests, and I had to do all my tests for the concrete side by side. We had to do it side by side.
I've seen that done before.
Yeah, to make sure we both get the
Yep,
same result.
I have seen that done before especially
Yeah.
when you're pumping concrete.
Yeah, so,
With
so I
big
guess,
pumps.
hopefully I've been able to explain some of the nuances that can happen that kind of leads to the back and forth that goes between the inspector and contractor. As well as, I think it helps the owner be able to check out their own that they want to do that service. Like what happens is you guys now can go vet whatever it is that's gonna be doing this inspection versus not a contractor and find somebody that.
Does the city have to go and find that testing agency? Or is K3's gonna find the testing agency?
I think we can do that. I think Capers would be able to.
Who would you guys, what are the testing agencies you guys would choose from? Like Terracon, Alpha Testing, MLPA?
Yeah, those are all names that I'm familiar with. And they have, the reason that they're not, is they have a great reputation.
Yes.
for
I mean, you all worked with all three.
Yeah, exactly, so. I think that maybe we could, some recommendations. And then,
And then the city manager hires them, or K3 hires them.
I'll get with Ryan on that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something I think we need to,
they're great questions, though.
yeah, go, we'll
Okay.
figure it out. You know, my thing is that K3's probably do some.
Y'all want that. The city, so
Yeah.
work that
We'll
out.
work-
I'm question is satisfied. I
And
see
they're
where,
great questions because I can relay them back.
Yeah, we'll work on the test. I'll come back,
I'm satisfied. Y'all work that out.
okay.
Well, on that note though, on a contract value like this, on a rough order of magnitude contract value like we're going to have here, what do lab services run on something like that in your experience? Is it, I mean, just ballpark?
You know, I really can't say it's probably a percentage.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it a high percentage or is it single digit? Single digit?
But,
Eh,
yes, I mean, I think it's,
Okay, all right, then I think that question.
Clarification for me though, if you don't mind, so this is a third party we would hire, and it's a city expense.
That's the way it's
Not
written.
stuff, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess that really ultimately that leaves the ultimate arbiter of quality control in the city's hands. It does not entrust it to the subcontractor.
All right, just for the notes, you said MLK,
I think that's their name, yeah.
it's geological services.
Geotech services, it's their lab.
Okay,
yeah, but you know, I would like to go. Um,
Nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, you know, there can be alternatives, to this. as
Well, this is not a court proceedings. Nobody's gonna hold your feet to the fire. It's just we're trying to find facts.
Yeah.
That's it. Lene, do you have something?
Just that, from a previous, Aaron Jones would be a good sport for the testing.
More than likely, he's gonna rattle off the same three names that I just named, because they're the industry leaders. It might, I don't know, unless he has a brother-in-law that does it or something, I don't know. Rogers, do you have anything?
I just got two short things, the letters that came into, I guess, Kevin, like one from Jack, I was gonna address couple of his items, but one of them was something that I thought K Freeze was gonna answer, but I didn't see the answer. I saw short-term rentals, but I don't know what that had to do
It
with.
doesn't have anything to do with that. It
I
shouldn't-
know,
should
but
not
I'm
have
not
printed
sure if I was sent the wrong thing or if that answer is really.
So we got this email today from the city that has K Freeze responses to it with these tabs. If you look at got that here. And this is Jack's letter and there's a tab response
Okay. I'll
on
see
each
that.
one of his, and K Freeze has addressed each one of his things to my satisfaction at least.
Okay, so he.
And I can go through them, but as a matter of fact, let's just do that real quick. Jack's comment was markings to identify tree location in the middle of the street. I think this requires more than a few markers nailed to a tree. K Free's response was roadway plans shall include pavement striping inside of travel way to split traffic away from tree, utilizing lane shift taper rates per TxDOT roadway design manual. That's gonna be yellow tape laid on the street, and then they take a pear burner and burn it, and it sticks to the asphalt. The use of a splitter island sign is also highly advised at both ends of the tree, facing oncoming traffic. And one of the initial or additional details that you're gonna provide for the final presentation of this is gonna have a detail for tree islands, correct?
That's correct. So we intend to have 12 more sheets to address the 26 splitter islands that exist. And what we want to do is advocate something that's, you know, so it clearly delineates that inside lane, inside of the edge of pavement. And then from that, we use the most. And there's a R4-7 MUTCD sign.
Define that for us in case someone doesn't understand what that is. MUTCD is municipal or manual of uniform traffic control devices,
Yes,
and that's published by the Texas Department of Transportation.
there's two publications. There's a federal publication, which means, and then there's the TxDOT publication. The federal publication, the TxDOT publication cannot go less than So typically when you see like the Texas Department of Transportation, they produce something that's usually going to have the same on board. And what the federal requirements. So if you were to Google it, you would find, you would want to just make sure. Or you might see an MUTC.
Well, I'm not questioning the standards or anything, Jack was, but if you're driving up and you see that tree, is there gonna be a big sign there? Or
Yes,
that's what you're getting at.
yes.
Okay,
And it's gonna be a breakaway sign, so.
okay, that's good.
The next question on Jack's list, and I'll get back to my final question of my own, is how are the flexible pavement structural repair locations determined and will be marked on the streets for paving operators? I don't fully understand Jack's question, but it leads into a question that I had in my mind. In the drawings on a lot of these, say, let's call them cul-de-sac streets, you've got mill and replace on the body of the street or the travel lane of the street. And then when you get to the end of the street, which should be a fairly defined turnaround zone in the cul-de-sac end, you have them marked as flexible pavement structure. Explain to us what flexible pavement structure is.
Yeah, so the standard 2-inch mill is you're just the surface, really trying to get through the surface, of course, get into the binder first, right? And then you're gonna go back and go back on and go ahead.
Like glue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, emulsion. Something.
Yeah.
So, and then you're just gonna put the surface back on top. But as you can tell, it can only recover 2 inches, right? So if you were to have any damage that's in excess of 2 inches and you did the same operation, you'd be like a cavity, right?
Pothole.
Yep, and that hole is gonna go away, and fortunately the void and then, just traffic continue to go over it, it's gonna reappear. And now your potholes get bigger, right? So, so that was really the primary evaluation, is looking at the potholes and literally, and that's what we did. We had about 4 engineers out here. We walked every 32, we walked all the 32 streets. And we had several ways of measuring it, including taking pictures. So what we did was we went to every pothole that we saw. We went there, we measured the height, we measured the width, we measured the depth. We put a ruler in there, we took a picture of it. We actually had the plan sheets. We had preliminary plan sheets, so we could go and put our notes on it and do call outs. So we actually have the sheets, the notes, pictures. And then what we did was we already wrote down our first impressions. Well, and then what I did was I went through all those pictures again. This is deeper than 2 inches. So
That included alligator crop?
that's alligator tracking is a little bit different. We went through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and what they have is they have a classification pavement. So it's either going to be severe, moderate, or there's a less one. So there's 3. And of those 3, they give you they characterize how you're going to see the alligator cracking and how depression is creating, and then it tells you, okay, this is severe.
Mild.
Yeah, mild, right? And then so once we understand that, then we're able to say, okay, that's prepared for that.
So that's also a flexible pavement structural repair.
That would be.
Well, this goes back to the actual question I was asking. Like, I'm looking at the drawing for Wilson Circle here, which is sheet 55 of 114. And you've got the hash on the straight line road leading into the cul-de-sac, and that is a hash mark, and the legend is plan and text asphalt concrete pavement, 0 inches to 2 inches with overlay. But when you get to the end of the cul-de-sac, it's solid gray, and it says flexible pavement structure repair. In parentheses, 8 inches, see project layout sheet 2 of 2. That flexible pavement structure repair, that means that it's going to be excavated. It's going to be more than 2 inches, it's going to be an 8-inch dig. And then it's going to have base material replaced.
You're taking all of that.
That's what I was trying to define, because I didn't fully understand that. So that means that that's going to be a base replacement, And then it's gonna be asphalt and seal coat over the top of that.
Yeah, I think on the project layout sheet, which is more toward the plan sheets, you're gonna have a little, you're gonna have a little pavement section. And that pavement section is for the contractor to understand, you know, your essentials of pavement, that's this. It's like another, yeah, I think you're pretty close to it.
That was 2 of 114.
Yeah. Not sure.
Oh, is this the note here? Residential mill and overlay roadway detail?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you can step right here and help me understand that.
Yeah, so this is the
Mhm.
So this is what. And when they're removing it, they also see the first something that weird.
Yeah. You gotta fix the subgrade. And we, obviously you're taking, I don't know if that was a consideration in design, but we all considering the 60,000 pound, trash trucks turning around on those, into those streets?
We actually, we recognize that's probably why the cul-de-sacs were in the condition that they were.
Yeah.
Was, and it's also doesn't have effective extremity, right? So roads really aren't designed for a lot of wheel turning.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of U-turns or doing a lot of, it's just, you know how if you turn your steering wheel all the way to the left or all the way to the right, and you just keep on doing it with,
It causes rattling.
yeah, that's right, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it's just as bad for the tire as it is for the road, right?
Yep.
So that's why, you know, so anyways, it's that, you can tell that's why that they're more susceptible.
Do you know how many locations that occur in off the top of your head?
What?
How many locations we're considering, or the plans are requiring a full depth replacement? I don't remember, I guess I should have counted them. Is it a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot, there was a lot of edge, you know, like a lot of. And that probably is from the garbage trucks as well, we see that, but.
It's really counted in square footage. isn't it?
Yeah, but I was going as far as say, by 70% of the cul-de-sacs, I just feel like it was a lot of cul-de-sacs that.
Okay. All right, I'm satisfied with that answer. Either of you have any questions about that? It surely eliminated it for me, but it didn't make me feel real good about it because I have a feeling it's gonna be expensive. But
You know, our own guy from the county, that she mentioned, he looked at it and he didn't look at me, but he says, when they do roads that are as bad as ours, it can, that flexible pavement repair that they call it, can be almost as much as the other. And that's what's scary. He said people don't realize it. And I didn't know if we had covered it all or, you know, didn't know where we were with that, but it sounds like they've done pretty good job of going out there and marketing those kind of things.
Yeah, and I feel really good about the point of takeoffs that we marked down. It's kind of like cost of the point of takeoffs. I can find the process, and that was all.
can you bring that on the 8th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then the idea though, for me, was that, you know, best, whatever our estimate is, that we can start tracking that to any. We could take it. Because I was being generous with some, with those sites, because they really prepared. But if I needed to really start tightening my belt on it.
Could you have that conversation with them?
Yeah.
And let's put pencil paper on that and see what we're gonna have to do, because we have to be realistic about what we can afford.
Good one,
Yes, ma'am.
one comment. That was one of the sheets I produced. Country Lane had 157 square yards flexible pavement. On the chip seal one, on this current one, that was eliminated, and the cul-de-sac that had none before now had 1,400 square yards.
Yeah, I
That
definitely.
was a huge jump.
Yeah, and I still need to go back and just, I think it's a great comment, and I'm just gonna take a harder look at it, but I do know that,
But they were called this.
yeah, the difference in scope between what we're doing primarily in North Overlay versus the chip seal is that some of the bid items are actually baked into, the bid item that's used for mill and overlay. For instance.
Okay,
That was something that we saw a lot of tap code happening on the chip seal project because that was appropriate. But because the mill and overlay is happening, the DGA SQ, that one in specific, if you go to the bid item, for Textile, you know, if we had put tap code, it would have been okay. So we were actually kind of happy. You know.
Good. All right. Anybody have any further questions about that? And Kate Reese has provided responses to the rest of Jack's questions, I believe, that are just answered them. Some of them look like, the fee schedule. This detail, Jack's question was page 46 of 61, contractor's fee schedule, who will determine a mutually acceptable fixed fee arrangement. This detail will be further reviewed in consideration of city engineer of record and contractor. And that's exactly right. You're going to go into that in bid negotiations, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to be a city function. We're not going to be involved in that. My next question, I want to get to mine that satisfies Jack's questions. Rogers?
No, that's fine.
Okay, well, Mr. Jackson has already evaluated the Cape Reed responses. If we go to the last section, the typical standard pavement markings. This is my question about this. I understand your issue with the tree islands and how they need to be delineated. When we have all these pavement markings in here, we don't have pavement markings in our town other than what, the rudimentary cart crossing things we have. And I think we're all in agreement that cart crossings markings are necessary. But all of the rest of the details in here for street markings, I don't think that that's something we want to pursue in our city, nor is it something we can afford.
It is actually when they calculated how much it would cost to do it, they actually, this kind of comes back to I'll see if they have the testing in this number. They actually have, the markings and pavement, they have it just under 50,000 for the
Cart paths and
Correct.
islands.
correct.
Those are two things we're not gonna get away from.
Yes,
It's just everything else outside of those things.
correct. They're not going to do. They're going to do probably around the tree, golf carts, but all the other striping will be come later after the roads. Once we look at we also are currently doing a survey for calming, traffic calming, or maybe just doing some striping or whatever it is, whatever comes to recommendations. So we'll do the basic markings and signs that we need to.
Which I think is just a replacement.
Yeah.
That was our assumption.
And then-
We would be replacing existing.
Right,
That was
that
the
was-
baseline.
And then this committee will look at, once we get further information, if we need to, stripe the whole city or whatever, that will be the next phase. Once the RFP goes out, y'all can start looking at that.
Okay, that leads into my question is, looking at the body of the text for the RFP, do we need to provide a clarification to bidders, telling them not to submit pricing for full-blown striping throughout the city? Or I guess I need to phrase the question correctly. Do we need to tell them all at once cart paths and tree islands striped?
I don't think so, because we're providing them the quantities, right? So the summary street table that you see,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they.
So it's already there. Okay, I just want
Well,
I'm
the
good.
striping.
to, I don't want to scare away any bidders.
No, that delineation for that splitter island, right? That has
Yeah.
that's what we intend to do. And improve safety. And also. So, anything that, and anything that the contractor can, it's just some of these ideas, it should be fair to all contractors, right? They shouldn't be
Mhm.
guessing at our quantities.
Agreed.
Like, well, I thought it was gonna be this, and then they over.
One's doing 5 signs, the other
Yeah,
one's saying, oh, no,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
10 signs.
Yeah.
And so you're getting.
Yeah,
they-
if
You
they
want
were
apples,
saying
you want apples to apples.
It's $1 a sign.
That's right. So I really, I don't think that would discourage that. I think they would just, it's there. I also think that this is, I can talk about this. There's an SQ in one of the big items, an SQ needs small quantity. This is a big one. Here, so it's over 100 tons. This is a big project. And I know you guys have seen some smaller projects here, and maybe that might have been the trouble with seeing as many bids as you want, but because this is a much bigger project, right?
Too much more appealing.
That's right, yeah.
What-
It is much more.
What's the, where's the kind of cutoff where you say, okay, this is a big project?
5
This-
tons.
5,
Asphalt,
how much?
5 tons.
5 tons.
And how much
Way
is
past
this one?
5 tons.
How much did you say this one was?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, so it's.
Yeah, the reason that.
10 tons?
It might be twice as much. I have to go back and look.
No, I won't look at it. Okay, but it's way above.
But here's what I can tell you though, so there's, if you look at one of the bid items, asphalt itself, there's parentheses in there that says SQ, right? That is actually categorized for small quantity. And we were using that, we were looking at that because that's what we were using on the previous projects, because those were small quantities. That was, let's say, 5 tons. And that was by text on and said, hey, 25 tons, that's pretty that. So that was the cutoff line. That's why I was going to say something about it, is because that's what they're saying, the cutoff, small and big quantity. But because we couldn't, I could not find yet any current cost on that bid item, like I can't find any contractors that bid on those items yet. So either from our previous projects, or looking at the text website to see all the costs or all of their bid costs that been coming in. So anyways, so I wasn't able to find, I wasn't able to find how much that cost. So it's partly because we at least that gave us what choices goes us, because it's like going to Costco and getting wholesale, right?
Mhm.
The more you buy, the
It provides buyers leverage to the subcontractor.
yeah, that's right. So I actually anticipate that. And I think that's where Linnea found the difference in because we were going back and forth on having that bid item there. And we were going back and forth because we couldn't figure out the cost. And I said, hey, let's just put this, because I still think this is conservative. And what I do expect is less, because we're buying so much more. So,
Okay.
but that's it kind of touched
And
on.
I that shoulder stuff. So,
Yeah.
Ed, you want to, let's address your issues with, your streets in Cypress Point, which are part of the,
Right.
streets on the city of Wood Creek.
We have a lot of old trees that line our street there, just put in an 84, 85. They've grown, we've got roots that got pushed up base, I guess, the clarification with the pavement, what's left of it on top of it. My question was, when going in there and dealing with that kill trees. And number one, our widths vary in a road, there's not a set amount. And I just wanted, to get a little clarification on how we're gonna do this. And my machine's going in tearing down the trees, to pave the street. And have some flexibility in paving where it needs to be paved. And also have a handle so it wouldn't kill the trees. Cody's told me something.
I have a friend that actually lives in Wood Creek North, and he's an industry recognized expert on moving heritage oak trees. He moved 4 heritage oak trees for my former employer, and I actually poached him from that company and got him hired on with my employer. But anyway, he's a subject matter expert. I called him, I asked him about it. He said, I'll go by and take a look at it. But he said, in his experience, that tree root has been paved over since '84. is most likely pushing the base material that grew under, the base material is pushing the pavement up. So you have a section of material of varying depth above that root, and when you mill it off, there's still a section of material over the root, but it's just not as thick. Right. He also said that he has a degree in forestry, and he said that that root that's been covered by pavement since 1984 has never contributed any water or nutrients to that tree in the life cycle of the tree, more than likely. The tree only gets its water and nutrients from the critical root zone that's outside of the paving structure. And he said, even if you milled over the top of that root to get your pavement in there, it's not gonna kill that tree. He said an arborist will tell you the opposite of that, but he said unfortunately arborists are wrong about everything, so.
No, I'm glad to hear what you said, because I was thinking, I felt like that milling 2 inches, that's what the surface scores. We weren't getting, scores, in that section that we have, that base was. So I just felt like any group that was pushing all of that up, you gotta push it up, but you're still just losing this, and then you're revealing it. So I just didn't feel like it would have that much, and then they had, but I'm not a subject matter.
Okay.
But what I can
I'm
say
not-
is I felt really good that, we want to be able to do what different things. I know an overlay, and there's no, full depth repair in or around those splitter islands, so we want, if there's a full depth repair around them.
Or it'd be possible to come out and look at it, I mean, sure, you've made
Is it in the Cypress Point area?
I think what we can do is make a point of that. I think that we are providing services for those, for construction inspections. So we have somebody that goes through. and-
Yeah, I just
But I
want full
think we-
support from them, we all love those
Yeah.
trees, obviously.
What we can do is, I think we can, make that a point with our inspector and just say, this is a place of sensitivity. And, we just want to make sure that we have eyes on it, when the contractor's there, just have eyes on it.
Yeah, when the
The
contract.
contractor tells, what the contractor tell the inspector when something happens. And then,
Well, pre-construction is what I want, or someone could come out and assure us that, more than likely, this isn't going to kill our trees, this is the way we're gonna do it. Which is a little different maybe than where they're gonna handle the rest of the road, it's not all of our roads, it's just a section of Cypress.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that K3s, we would be within our ability to say one way or the other. Just like like Cody said, that you do need a subject matter expert that would be able to tell you in writing something like that. And then if there's a recommendation that they provide, I think that would go to the contractor. And that's how, I think that's how you would work around that. But we could not, we don't have the expertise. Last year, but we don't have the expertise to make a recommendation.
Yeah, I'm not sure how anybody would go out there and make an evaluation of something going on underground and put their name and signature to it.
Yeah.
It would be, you mill it, and if it scars the root, paint the root and water the tree. I already know what Daniel's gonna
Hang
say.
big from it if they all die.
Well,
That's also a risk that I don't want to run. It seems that we get a little bit, and there must be other streets in town with the same concern in some areas. And I just think there ought to be some provision with from your firm to have someone who could at least take a look and say, yeah, this can be done without killing the trees on both sides of the road. This is how we're gonna do it, and we think it's a good way, as Cody's expert, would tell us. I don't think that's asking too much.
you know what we might do? We might ask, what's the name of the guy from the county, Kevin Jones? Aaron Jones? We ask Aaron Jones, kind of stuff, run into this 1,000 times
I
before.
bet he has, that's a good idea.
Well, I wanted to run rough numbers by him, or just have him look at the contract.
I'm
Probably in your,
sure everybody in every neighborhood that he goes to in Hayes County is ready to come after him with the pitchforks and the torches if he kills a tree.
Torches at night. Yeah, that's true.
I'll bet Aaron knows the answer to that in our neighborhood.
Yeah,
That's,
and he's
Will
really,
you reach
You
out
know,
to Aaron?
yeah,
On
that's a
some of
good.
the previous projects that I've done, we do work with, that's the part that I really do think that they're out. These are the kind of, you're prepared to make decisions upon because they provide all that. That goes around the roads, underneath sidewalks. I think they're also prepared to identify any kind of consequences or consequences. At the same time. I do think this is probably more within an expertise from us.
You're right.
But what Aaron, part of what Aaron's gonna tell you is, it's not so much milling off is the problem. He said, go ahead and asphalt it, it's like 4 years from now when it's gonna push up again. So you're gonna have another place.
Which could mean that there's gonna be a warranty. There's gonna be a warranty exclusion probably in Southeast Point.
Yeah, and that would be, I could accept that because I would keep going.
It is gonna do it again.
Do it again. Okay, another.
And you know what? That could be a warranty waiver notice from the subcontractor
That's a good idea.
saying, hey, we'll warranty all this, but we're not warranting.
Yeah, the tree grows, and pumps are gonna come back. They don't have to do it like 84 to now, that's okay.
Well, that's kind of one of the reasons why we need a street maintenance
Yeah.
fund for 4 or 5 years from now, when it start pushing up again, you know, we don't have to do Cypress Point, what we need to do is come back around that
Yeah,
tree
just-
and,
100 feet.
yeah, just do both sides of the tree where it started to push up, and so that's why you have the street maintenance, where you're not spending $3.5 million.
That's right.
Most of the trees that are causing the problem have 50% of their critical root zone exposed off the edge of the road. Here's the road, here's the tree, the road goes past it. All this critical root zone is where it gets its water and nutrients from, because it's in somebody's yard.
That's true. Last question, we're a POA, and we have areas adjacent to the street that parking, let's say, around our mailboxes. And we want, of course, we'll be paying for that, and what I wanted is some kind of language in here where we could work with the winning contractor, figure out the square footage involved. We would contract and put up, the money at the same time, whatever, to sure they would get paid and do it all at the same time, instead of coming back and doing it piecemeal.
And I don't think the city's interested in allowing the POA to piggyback on this engineering exercise. It would be a separate. It'd be a separate deal between the POA, the actual engineering of it.
Yeah.
Would be another contract with K Fraser Engineering Firm.
Okay.
Kevin, you can speak to that,
No, that's right, it has
Be
to
a
be,
separate contract.
yeah, it'll have to be a
engineering.
separate contract, no.
but I'm
You
thinking
can
exactly what you're doing.
You can use the same, everybody's gonna know who the contract we use. So as a president of the POA, are you the president?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're free to contact,
Okay, that's fine.
whoever,
Make our-
whatever, we just can't.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want
include it in
conflict of interest on me from using anything in the city. I mean, he's won the bid while he's out there. I'd like to negotiate
Well,
with him.
That is,
That's one great thing to do is when they come out there to do it, and their superintendent's out there, so I want your estimator to come out here and give me a price for all this.
Okay.
The estimator will come by and get a price 2 days later.
whatever you do,
Good.
is between
Oh,
you
sure.
or the
I
POA
don't want
and
that.
them, but yeah, the city is not gonna be
Oh, I don't
involved
want,
in any of
that's
that.
why I said I want to be able, with having any conflict of interest, aspersions cast upon me to make a deal with
Oh, no,
that
you
guy.
can go talk to
Okay.
anybody.
I worked for county paving for 5 years, and that's what they do, they get a contract with the city, they send a runaround and do all the
Yeah,
driveways.
we want to do them all at one
And the
time.
economy to them, so, yeah, it's pretty normal.
And you
But it's-
probably get a great deal on it too,
I would hope so.
because they're already in neighborhood.
Yeah, they're out there and they have all the stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, not
just
that
as a
far,
city,
all
we
we have
can't
to
be
tax
any,
Yeah.
we're not gonna
Okay.
approve it, talk to them, anything but.
Well, I just wanted to be upfront about it, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
is to Negotiate a deal and good faith.
That's private business and talk to
Okay.
them.
Very good. That's all I have. Oh, except that we have 54 homes on our street, and it keeps saying 24. No, this place. Cypress Point, where you have a schedule of roads and homes on each street. Here we go. Number 8, Cypress Point's home 24, length 1,650.
I take a picture of it, please.
That's number 8. First road, page, exhibit D1.
That's one of my schedules and I did the correction.
Yes, it just doesn't make it, I just want to correct.
No, yeah.
We have a lot of taxpayers per land, but
And maybe what we do have is we have a GIS expert, and they have a geoinformation specialist. And they provide us our base maps, and part of those base maps are the parcel boundary. So what we do is we count up, the parcel owners, which is something we're gonna be adding. So because we understand the contract, contact with folks, let them know, that, some work is gonna be happening in front of their homes, so. So that's how we do our counts, is we just count.
well,
Right.
it's not correct.
You're right. I'm just explaining our own process, but we're gonna go through.
But
their
it's not, okay, previous step, it's mine, because I had not corrected.
Oh, yeah, we did this, yeah, a long time. Yeah, thanks.
No, it wasn't. That was
Okay, I remember,
mine.
and I thought we had that corrected.
We did on one copy and on the.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I'm through, that's all I have.
Okay, the next items, there were, a lot of very good questions from Linnea, and Kate Reeves has provided some responses and tabled some for further investigation. We've asked Linnea to digest the answers from Kate Reeves, possibly request additional information, and Linnea is going to address her questions to, whatever questions she has left, to Kate Reeves in council. That's the appropriate forum for her. And
Plus, when I addressed those questions, it was to you, the panel, and the manager. I just wanted to make sure you heard some of those questions.
and it was excellent work, Linnea.
No,
Yeah, they really were, they were excellent.
Well, you're talking to an accountant that worked for a paving contractor for a number of years.
I almost thought maybe you were an engineer.
She's a subject matter expert in accountants.
Yeah, no, I have attention to detail, I really appreciate it, so, many of those things that, were already on our.
Yeah.
Refine. It's great that you saw that.
What was the column for?
Oh, the call for a seal coat, so,
There was just that one column, and we never used seal coat before with the asphalt paving.
yeah, because the seal coat is embedded, and I remember I was talking about those baked in items that go into.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if you notice too, they'll say that the application for seal coat is either on existing pavement because it's missing something, or it's done on granulated surface, which is a different application that we're doing. So there's very specific conditions with surface coat, as well as it's circumstantial, right? So, like, I'm from the Northwest, and, Washington State, there's been a lot of ice on the roads. So our surface treatment, and that's where there's a little bit of a distinguishment because it's kind of simplified by saying surface coat. It's actually surface treatment, and there's a few different bid items that go into it, based on the circumstance, right? So, like up in the Northwest, like I said, a lot of ice, a lot of fog. So when you come down here, and conditions are very different, that drives a determination for certain. And so, yeah, we have used Cascadel, and here it's just not in common use, with what we're doing. And also other considerations are made for type of road, the traffic load that's on it. So those are things that matter as well, so.
And I think one of your responses was, it's not really, that's what it was already again. Seal coat, are referred to as seal treatment, varies in application based on stock conditions, size, fog, asphalt type, roadway use, and traffic loads. Seal treatment is not necessary on all roads. Seal treatment is not necessary on the residential collector streets for this Wood Creek project. So basically, it's an item that's in there that would require pricing if it were to be used, but you don't really anticipate the use of it, speaking out of turn.
Yes.
Yeah. It'd be buying a Cadillac when a Chevrolet will get us there.
So, I mean, if you had yeah, like I said, very different circumstances, so would be good, they also have big islands, right, so it's very different.
They might use it in Amarillo, but not in Laredo, not so much.
Yeah, yeah. So, there's also just a lot of wear and tear, right, that's why you do traffic counts, and you try to identify how much traffic there's gonna be every year. So when you have something that's constantly running, all that friction is just gonna peel up the surface, so the surface code can help with those conditions based on, like I said, the traffic running time.
And that's why it's not on the summary list.
Great question, though. It was fun kind of investigating it. So, like I said, I'm from Washington, so it's something I haven't actually used to doing. So when I came down here, we actually spent some fair amount of time just investigating it. Actually, went to our third-year engineer and just said, hey, can you talk a little bit more about, what we do here? So, I felt really good about, the applicant not using it here, so we didn't have to.
Okay. Well, I don't have any further questions. Anybody else have anything?
I wonder if you know the market so well, what's the timing look like on getting good bids from competent large contractors?
Well, we're gonna set the bid time. I mean, we have a bid due date. We put this on the street and that's all defined. They have by 2 p.m. on X day, X month, the bid must be in hand or it won't be
If
released.
everything plans out right, it will go in front of council on the 14th of this month. Soon after on the 15th or whenever we can get into the system and get it out there, it will be placed on the CIVCAS and on the market. Start bidding. I believe we have a pre-bid conference at the end of June. That last week of June, we have a pre-bid conference.
Why are we doing that? That's the one that nobody came to.
Well, yeah, but you normally have it, and with this one, you may have it. If nobody comes, that's fine, but on most of these big, large projects, you always have a pre-bid conference, just to let people,
What if we don't have it?
what if we don't have it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's customary.
It's just, you don't have to be there. It's
Does
gonna
that
be
slow
needed.
things down?
Huh?
No,
Let's
sir.
go right
It's
down.
just customary part of the process.
You don't-
On something this big, people may show up.
Okay.
Yeah, they may have
Maybe.
questions or whatever,
Yeah.
they might
I don't
wanna
know.
speak to us or look at it or whatever. If nobody shows up, that's fine, and then, within a month, we'll have all the bids back. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head, and then,
July
Do what?
15th.
is it July 15th?
Well, if we, city council 14th, get the bid out.
Right, be July 15th. Those proposals will be sealed, we'll open those up in a public forum. Those bids will come to here. We'll discuss them. You'll be able to look at them if we need to go into, and then you make a recommendation to council on the one that you think is best. We will go to council, and then it will go to council, and if we need to do some negotiating or whatever, we can do it at that time.
One last thing,
And so
Your timetable's still pretty close.
yes, so we should, July, August, we should be September.
I mean, end of the year.
I'm thinking about the end of October. That was my.
We are trying to do all of this before the end of October.
Right, I want it done by October 31st. So we're still on schedule, even with the hiccup tonight, and, hopefully we'll stay on schedule.
In full disclosure on bids, I am gonna hand deliver this RFP to the chief estimator at a large paving contractor.
Good.
And Suzanne's gonna do the same thing to another large paving contractor.
Well, that was my question too, after the last time when we didn't get any bidders on small stuff. Doing it, what you're gonna do, we're anticipating to get us good bids from good people.
Yes, we've already.
This amount of money is,
Yeah.
that's real money.
Yeah, that's real.
And that's
You
kind of
can't
weird.
really turn your nose up to something like that if you're a paving operator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we said, the other one was just too small, I think.
Yeah.
Chin seal, but this one is way above the 5 tons. And so, yeah, we're gonna have, people have inquired on this
Good.
one when we're going out, so.
That's great.
Not that they bid, but, yeah,
Well, that's
we're hoping for the best.
They'll bid even, some people will bid it to get it, some people will bid it to not get it.
And as you know, we're looking to do all the streets, so also too, once we get back that bid package and see kind of where we're at, we'll have to sit down with Kate Freeze and figure out, okay, are we gonna do all overlay? Or we're gonna have to do some chip seal?
Yeah.
And then we'll have to come up and, this committee we'll have to figure out, okay, well, we have to do 1.5 miles of chip seal or whatever, and
I
y'all,
did a formula here.
go.
For, if the bid comes in 400,000 a mile, we don't have to have any chip seal. And then I just stepped it down, if it comes in at 420,000 a mile, 420,000 miles, we have to do 7/10 of a mile of chip seal. If it comes in at 500,000, so we'll just have a.
I don't think it's even gonna come in at 400. I think using the metric of Wood Creek Drive, 400,000 a mile, that is a 2-lane actual grown-up street.
Yeah.
And the majority of our streets are goat paths. They're single lane streets and they're not gonna cost $400,000 a mile. I don't think they will.
And the great thing is, let's say that, let's say, hey, it comes in at $3 million. Yeah, but we did bond it 3.4. That extra money will go into it can only be used for streets, so it will go into a street maintenance fund.
There you go.
That's what you receive money for, street maintenance.
There you go.
Let's hope that happens and we don't have to, nickel and dime and really try to chop this up and everything, hope it all comes within budget. But I think we have looked at every contingency that if we get a bid, we're gonna pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every road, one way or the other, every road's gonna get touched.
Yep.
Except for,
Garrison. that's
Please,
right.
I
That needs to
stood
come
up
off.
and God, and everybody's at VFW and told everybody in town we're gonna pay them for streets
only-
down, so.
and I'll be up for, the only one that's not is going to be Deerfield. Because we have a grant of $500,000 to pay Deerfield. The only downside to that is that the grant is not released or awarded until November or December. But it was a $500,000 grant to fund Deerfield. So that is not included in the project.
How did that happen? Just curious. Right.
Yeah, it was a long process with, we used GrantWorks. And it's for a low income area within the city,
Multifamily housing.
multifamily housing. And so they actually came out and they went door to door surveying the residents that live on that. And they got a bunch of metrics, you had to meet all these metrics. We did, we sent a lot of paperwork, engineering, whatever. So and we sent it in there, but yes, it's a $500,000 grant.
They're gonna take $500,000.
But we can't do it and get paid back for it.
Correct. We have to wait. Unfortunately, I was hoping
Yeah.
that it would be done
And get the
before, that way if we didn't get the grant, we knew it. But once again, if we can come under budget a little bit or save a little money back by maybe chip sealing a couple roads rather than overlay and having that in the kitty, if that doesn't come through, we have the money to go ahead and pay that road.
That's good. Thank you.
It's not gonna take $500,000 to pay through.
But also drainage. It's going to include drainage. Right?
Correct. It needs a lot of Deerfield.
It's wrecked around the corner.
It's
Wrecked all the way there.
wrecked at the beginning.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
You're right.
we were trying to fill potholes and basically it's just an overlay.
Gotcha.
We just take the mill down there and dump it out and spread it out, but yeah, we are working. But I just want to make sure that everybody knew that.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to discuss today? Do we have any announcements?
Are we gonna try to add somebody to the committee?
Yeah, it sounds like we need to solicit that.
If you know anybody, please have them contact City Hall. We'll send them an application and get them to fill it out and present that in front of council. So whoever nominated Jill can nominate somebody then.
Okay, that was that.
Once we receive.
Deborah, okay. The Deborah will, yes. But we have to receive an application on him. Anybody that you know, anybody watching?
I'll think about that.
Or anybody
So,
that you
come back. Focus on it.
No,
We can make the meeting.
he's got other obligations.
You know, Craig, Biggs?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Would be a good.
Have a contact us.
Oh, well,
Yeah, That's the best way to get somebody is, somebody that would be good on it. So yes, and we can get, that could be a fast turnaround too, but you really need a full membership.
We do,
committee.
we get that done quickly too.
What is our next meeting after the one coming up to do this one?
Our next meeting is the eighth, and I don't think we've scheduled past that.
We had it.
It'll be our normal.
Do we have a regular meeting scheduled?
Your regular meeting is normally the third Thursday of every month.
That's immediately after the council meeting, right? I guess we can meet and discuss what the council said, not for.
Well, and then
Yeah, it would be probably a short meeting, yes, that'd be great.
I say let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
And we'll meet the 15th.
So the eighth,
15th to 14th.
15th.
15th.
Okay.
So the next one will be on the 8th.
Yeah, 8 at 4 o'clock.
And then on the 15th at 5.
Sounds good, man.
And then we'll go back to the regular meeting.
Anybody else have anything? Nobody else has anything, so meeting adjourned.
At 38.
Thank you, Cody.
Glad we did do that. I want to make sure everybody had the same level of understanding,
Yeah.
including me.